Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. It's round 17 of this Formula One World Championship. In 2013, the titles might be decided. We know the bride, but had the wishbone not broken and the suspension failed him. So away we go then on the formation lap. Medium and soft tyres as it was last weekend, of course, in India. But Martin, the soft tyre lasting that little bit longer than we saw this time last year, albeit not enough to give a lot of the teams a chance of a one-stop strategy today. It could just be 4 cars go for that one-stopper.
Made some lightning starts, and unfortunately he's not been able to do much with them, and then he's made some appalling ones at the front, but let's hope he can get that bull charging into the first corner. And
it's out and away we go, and it looks like Hamilton gets a decent start from behind Mark Webber and Sebastian Vettel. It's Red Bull going into the first turn. It's Vettel ahead of Nico Rosberg, and then Mark Webber, and then Romain Grosjean gets a good start. Felipe Massa goes wide at the first turn of the Ferrari, and there's Sergio Perez, I should say, running wheel to wheel with Massa as he comes back onto the track once again. On board now with Lewis Hamilton with the rest of the top 10.
It looked like Jenson Button was under pressure as well from Ricciardo, I think it was, behind him. So Button's dropped down to 15th, unfortunately, on the first lap. But great start from Rosberg, great start from Alonso too, up into P8.
Decent start from Maldonado, who's up to 11th. Decent steer as DRS is enabled now, and he's out of immediate danger.
So Mark Webber got away okay, but others around him were better, and he's effectively a third going into the first corner, nearly turned into 4th. Let's see if we can see what goes on behind them through the craziness. And there is Raikkonen already then, having made contact. So he's gone up the inside of the Caterham, and Webber's only 0.9 behind, and Grosjean 1.1, so they're just about on the cusp of the DRS. There's 2 zones around this racetrack, and another one of them starts right now, and you can see the DRS boards there on the side of the racetrack. The drivers rely on a beep in their ear though to tell them that it's available, and they're at that point. If they pull too early, the radio button there, Alonso's got, he was just on the radio saying,
what's wrong with the curves, like what's wrong with the curves?
It's a little bit empty at the moment, we're going to charge it up.
Already problems for Mark Webber, not just the position he's in, but the lack of KERS available to him on this lap. You were saying, Martin?
KERS is worth about 1/3 of a second per lap in race trim next year.
Oh, won't they just? There's Grosjean, and that's Mark Webber. I mentioned that Grosjean's pace has been good, and he's been catching Webber lap by lap by lap. He's now 4 tenths behind him, but you'll see this throughout the race on this part of the track by the yachts and the marina. Very difficult to find an opening, find a gap and find a way past.
It's beginning to hurt Grosjean.
After 8 laps, Grosjean and Webber in. There's Hamilton, and you can just see him coming round, and maybe they both had to come in fearful of Lewis Hamilton. Had they have stayed out 1 lap longer, they might well have been undercut by Lewis Hamilton there. As it is, they get out just in front of him, and behind the Sauber there of Esteban Gutierrez. So now Hamilton runs 12th, Grosjean 11th, and Mark Webber runs down in.
But I think if he had his chance again, surely he would have started from the pit lane, but they do hold you a long time there, but he'd be on the back of them by the time he got down to turn 7 instead of in the back of them in turn 1.
Let's look at how this is shaping up there behind.
So that front left is still above target, front left is still above target. If we can't make the pass, we need to drop back and look after the tyres.
As you get down the far end, slightly bizarre, even more bizarre at night, when you're heading into a slightly dark zone down there at 8 and 9.
There's Mark Webber, I mentioned behind Adrian Sutil, DRS open for Mark Webber, gaining at top speed, and not gaining enough on that occasion. And behind this, of course, becomes the GP2 champion for this year.
I absolutely thought Lewis would breeze past that Sauber.
It was the same in Korea though, wasn't it? Except substitute Gutierrez for Hulkenberg on that particular day.
It's very quick in a straight line, which means if they park it on the apex...
And he's now onto the hard, and he's running in clear air, so he's got himself into good shape.
Christian, why is he so much more dainty on the tyres than Mark? What does he do differently?
He's got a very, very soft feel on them. He doesn't abuse them. He doesn't slip them too much. He doesn't excite the car too much, and he just seems to have a very, very natural feel for them.
But he still gets...
Not overly happy with it, but behind him he stays. And so Vettel from Massa, now De Resta, who hasn't stopped, Rosberg, Webber, Vernon, Soutel, and Alonso comes back out on the racetrack behind Sergio Perez. Ted.
Yeah. Can they make it to the end?
Okay, Sebastian, your pace is quite a bit better than other people on front, but that's okay. Just open up the gap progressively.
But
same result surely again.
yeah, what happened last time? 41 laps this Force India did, didn't it, in India on the medium compound tyre. It's a car that can go very long indeed. Grosjean looks to his right-hand side, and he'll now see Adrian Soutel go all the way around the outside, but can he make the move stick, or has Grosjean actually got the defensive job done? Looks like he had to me. Hamilton again.
Lewis, we do need to cool the car. We do need to cool the car.
Or on the medium compound tyre, I should say. The soft tyre, can they eke it out for 23 laps? Would that be enough for them?
But Lewis has got a bit of clear air in front of him now to be able to just cool the car a little bit. I started to tell you about the crossover they talked
last year. Big tangle, didn't he, with Pastor Maldonado, did Mark Webber.
Not to mention Rosberg's tangle with the HRT of Carthagena, wasn't it?
Oh yeah. He hits Narey Carthagena quite forcibly there, probably as Paul Di Resta comes now into the pits. Just came around the corner, didn't see the HRT moving very slowly.
Shaping up on Bottas, who's yet to stop.
Bottas hasn't stopped yet. Fernando Alonso has. You can see him on Sky Race Control by pressing your red button and watching on board as we do now. And Alonso into the chicane.
When you do that, when you got underneath somebody's rear wing like that, the front of your car goes all light, and
it's not doing anything to affect 18th and 19th place, I would say, at the moment in that battle. Max Chilton running last and still running as he has done every lap of the season so far. The only man to reach the checkered flag every single race.
So Paul Di Resta slotted back in. This is Satou we're looking at, of course, but slotted back in 13 on surely a one-stop strat.
For Williams. And Felipe Massa, you can see there behind Lewis Hamilton. He's also on our interactive service at the moment, Sky Race Control, if you want to ride on board with him. And what a marvellous little snake that is of cars winding their way around the hairpin and onto the team. Who's going to give an inch here? Alonso under braking, Hulkenberg under braking, down the inside goes Hulkenberg. Can Alonso now get him back in the next DRS zone, or has Hulkenberg actually got some DRS assist himself? Good move there from the German driver, and Alonso getting a toe straight on his tail now as round the kink we go, and Adrian Soutel and Felipe Massa further ahead having their scrap. Massa. Well, now he's clear of Soutel. He might just be able to do that. Soutel didn't have the curves to fight back and use DRS on that occasion. So Hamilton was right to make it right there.
Well, he got so much better traction, so he could scamper. And he was so slow on the apex of 8, it gave him a brilliant drive out of 9. So, unsurprisingly, thinking that one through.
So push hard now to get your pit window.
So the window for the second stop nearly upon Nico Rosberg. Perez all over the rear wing now of Pastor Maldonado, and Jenson Button right behind his teammate as well. Look at the advantage there, Martin, by leaving the track.
I think it begins with why, doesn't it? The answer to that, surely.
Hamilton pits for Mercedes from sixth place in this race, but Soutel and Maldonado both leaving the track there as in their battle for the place. Perez nipped in and said thank you very much. A bit of a knife edge for me on that one, and you wanted to see if he did cover. Well, then they're still a little bit worried about the tyres as Gutierrez now comes in for Sauber as well. So I wonder if we can now say that Ferrari's starting to commit to this one-stop strategy.
I think that's a fair point.
The race is very much behind Sebastian Vettel. He's listened to Rocky on this lap though, Martin. He's dropped about 0.3 of a second on his previous best sector times. So I think he's actually, look, a 1:46.1. How slow is that?
He'll be punching the steering wheel in disgust, won't he?
But very much on now for his 37th win in Formula One, and what would be his 7th. John goes into second place. And as you said, Martin, track limits under investigation for Adrian Sutil and Pastor Maldonado, and that will be that incident at the chicane where they both went wide, and Sutil managed not only to get ahead of Maldonado but Perez as well.
Well, I can't believe Sutil will not get a penalty for that one, but if he obviously hasn't given the places back.
47s at the moment.
I'd imagine if they get on the radio to Massa, he'll ask for it to be in Portuguese or something, because he's not going to pay any attention to anything else, is he? And
no.
In terms of letting Alonso through, he is not interested. He is fighting for his Formula One career moving forward. We think he may well go to win.
At the moment, pretty comparable with anything Mark Webber's got, and he's got a nice 13-second buffer.
Yeah, he's going well, isn't he? So Mark Webber's not lost the attention of Nico Rosberg either, as we said, and Rosberg's just done a new fastest lap of the race, which will catch Vettel's attention, because he tends to scoop those up if he gets half a chance. And he pits. Now we'll see some opportunity, about a second off.
He's going to come out behind Paul di Resta and Jean-Eric Verne. Does he come out ahead of Lewis Hamilton? Yes, he does, as far as I can see. As down to the pit wall we go once more, tapping his foot away, Christian Horner. How are things from the telemetry on Sebastian Vettel's car? All going according to plan?
Yeah, obviously at the moment.
With those graining tyres, and then following Gutierrez, following others, has really hurt his race.
All coming from the fact that he's had to start on the tyres that he used twice in qualifying yesterday, and that then prompted the early stop. Looking at Paul di Resta at the moment, on for a one-stop strategy here, currently running 6th, and di Resta, well, he has Jean-Eric Verne behind him, who should chicane now. He goes, and Hamilton locks up, big lock up for Lewis Hamilton going into the chicane there. Just didn't happen for him, wasn't really challenging. Jean-Eric Verne broke too late and then had the big lock up to go with it, and there's Felipe Massa gaining on him. So you'd expect Massa to be able to take Hamilton quite easy.
On the Mercedes, definitely can go in and hug the apex like it's his favourite granny, and he gets the front of that in, and that will help him a lot down at turn 5, and then turn 7 again onto the back straight where he's got the DRS available.
Might have a little go actually into the next chicane, turn 6. And behind him, Massa rejoins the circuit as the Williams of Valtteri Bottas has been lapped behind Felipe Massa, but Alonso, harum-scarum stuff that was, to try and get ahead of the Toro Rosso, and I'm not sure he was totally adhering to the track limits.
That was bravery beyond the call of duty from everybody there. And
last lap and a half, couple of laps. There's Adrian Sutil right behind Jean-Eric Verne as well. Also one stopping Adrian Sutil, who came in on lap 28 for his tyre change. Jean-Eric Verne came in on lap 17. So much fresher tyres for Adrian Sutil in the fight for the minor points.
This is lap of the race, which I'm sure the team will not tell Sebastian Vettel, the Red Bull team, that is.
That's right, Alonso's now got another one as well.
Yeah.
Well, he shouldn't be concentrating, Sebastian, about setting fastest laps, not with Alonso on the soft compound tyres and 7 laps to go. I wonder, that fastest lap from Grosjean. Van der Garde, Peak, Bianchi and Chilton have all been lapped. The two Mauritius have been lapped twice in this race. And Alonso sets another fastest lap, and not only is he catching Lewis Hamilton, but by quite a margin, at least a second and a bit more a lap.
Yeah, so this is 5, 6 and 7 we're looking at here in one frame.
Di Resta's
Moulton there.
They both use up all their curves on this lap, but Alonso, crucially for him, has DRS, and he makes the pass, and up then into 6th place goes Fernando Alonso. Started 10th on the grid, currently running 6th on the soft compound tyre, and getting some overtaking in these closing stages. Down to you, Ted.
Yep, sorry about that, David. My mic was open.
To build a tunnel here to make the pit lane work on this anti-clockwise circuit, one of 5. Of which take 5 anti-clockwise tracks, of which all happened in the last 7 races of the year.
Yeah, it's probably the best solution. Otherwise, you end up with a pit lane exit like Korea, of course, where you're coming out into the runoff area at the first turn.
So good haul of points for Mercedes over Ferrari. That's why Niki Lauda was standing there looking moderately pleased with life.
Well, they went into this race 4 points ahead of Ferrari, and they're outscoring them by about 15 points at the moment. And they need, though, Lewis Hamilton to get past Paul di Resta here. Sebastian Vettel picking his way through the back markers. That's Esteban Gutierrez just ahead of him, and Jenson Button currently fighting for 12th and 13th place. He doesn't really have to thread his way through. Vettel, he can just sit behind them now. Him into the first corner, and it is a Red Bull 1-2 then, a 15th 1-2 finish for Red Bull, and they can celebrate 100 podiums in